America first. And I said, that's me. Like, that's what I believe. I'm an American nationalist.
Me too.
Fully at this point. Not even a conservative. And there was one thing that happened just before that. It really struck me as strange. And I told this story before. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but suffice to say, Barack Obama, in the lame duck period, so the Democrats lost the election, he's on his way out. There's a resolution in the Security Council condemning the settlements in the West Bank and Israel. And typically, the U.S. delegation will veto those resolutions condemning Israel. Well, Obama's on his way out. He's got nothing to lose. So the U.S. delegation abstains from the resolution, and it passes. And Fox News and all the pro-Israel conservatives are calling him an anti-Semite. They're saying he hates Jews, he's an anti-Semite, he hates Israel. And I saw that, and it struck me as strange because it seemed hypocritical. It seemed like how when conservatives would critique anything about race, we got called racist, or anything about feminism, we got called sexist. All Obama did was uphold U.S. policy on the West Bank that we've had since '67, which is we don't support the settlements. I said, how is it anti-Semitic to just be consistent on our U.S. foreign policy?
It's weird calling Obama an anti-Semite. It's weird. Because I think he, if I'm not mistaken, he was more pro-Jewish than not more than Trump, but he was definitely pro-Jewish. I wouldn't say he was an anti-Semite at all. But I mean, he did come up with the nuclear proliferation agreement with Iran, which pissed off a lot of Israelis and pissed off a lot of Jewish Americans who looked at it and view him as being an enabler and being in bed with the Iranians, and sit up here and then they threw around the notion that he was anti-Semite because of it. So it's insane.
But like I said, which is a Republican-Democrat consensus. And I got attacked for this. I wrote a big article about this. I tweeted about it. I tweeted to Ben Shapiro. I said, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a freshman.
Still a freshman in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is even before I started my show. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism. And like, this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm. So I'm driving to Christmas Eve Mass with my family, and I see on Twitter, the notification comes up, Ben Shapiro quote tweets me, calling me an anti-Semite. And I was like, what is this? Like, why is this guy attacking me? Because I don't have a platform at this time. I'm not an influential guy or anything. And so then I put out another tweet similar. I said something like, if you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel. And again, he quote tweets me and says, you're an anti-Semite.
That same night?
This was, I think, a couple weeks later. Happened a little bit further down the line. And so...
Were you surprised that he knew you were?
Yeah, I was. I was surprised at why he cared.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, how does he even know who I am or what I'm about? And it turned out that Cassie Dillon, she had texted him earlier and she wanted him to take me under his wing. She texted him after that debate and said, you really like this guy. He's amazing. He did this great debate. She goes, but he's a little too pro-Trump. He's a little too Trumpy. And he goes, I'll take a look.
Now you're about to get into like the crux of like what made Nick Fuentes Nick Fuentes. We're now about to really go down this path right now. A lot of guys played the part into creating the guy that we're seeing right now, the future president of the United States, as I would say. And guys like Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, all these guys that sit up here, the LeBron James perverts types that did his first interview with Nick, and now he started bashing him. Like you see a pattern in here, like people that were like cool with Nick and then they betrayed him, and then the pattern just keeps happening so much over time. Where it's lead to where he is right now. This is why Nick has trust issues as he does right now. Why he barely trusts anybody, because like everyone's pretty much betrayed him, throwing him underneath the bus when it's convenient. You forgot to feel bad for the guy.
So I guess the two of them were kind of like grooming me in a sense. They wanted me to go maybe and be a Daily Wire, or maybe looking at me as a potential conservative activist or influencer. And so they started paying attention to me, and the more critical of Israel I was, I started to get this really intense pushback from the both of them. And from a lot of the people at Daily Wire.
Why do you think, so you're an 18-year-old college freshman, you're clearly talented and you're engaged, you're really interested, and you ask not crazy questions, like, what is this? Mm-hmm. And rather than explain it, they just call you a racist, call you an anti-Semite. Like, that's the first response. That seems like the least effective, well, it turned out to be not very effective in your case, but that seems like the least effective thing you could do. Why do you think they did that?
Well, I think that you have to look at it not in retrospect, because hindsight is 20/20. And so looking back, you could say they made a terrible mistake because look at sort of what they provoked or what they catalyzed. But at that time, you got to consider, I'm 18 with no following, with no network. I'm coming from the suburbs of Chicago. My parents didn't go to college. I have no connections. And so for them, it was very easy that if they detected that a promising young guy was going to become anti-Israel in the conservative movement, they could crush that person easily and grind them under the heel. So they sort of were alerted, oh, there's a precocious young guy that isn't on board with Israel. We'll keep an eye on him. And if he gets too vocal or popular, we'll cut him down, we'll crush him. Because at this time, as you know, in 2017, it's a very different time. 2016, 17, any criticism or dissent on the subject was a death sentence. You became radioactive, unhireable, blacklisted, and that's exactly what happened. And basically from then on, it was just this escalating series of blacklisting, censorship, hit pieces, rumors to try to ostracize me from the movement. And
While you're a college student?
yes, as a freshman, yeah.
Most coffee companies sell weakness, watered-down drinks from faceless corporations that don't care about you or your family. Black Rifle, which, not to brag, is in this cup right here, is very different. Know what it means better. It's not first.
Jesus Christ, man. We don't do
Why
ad
companies say that?
sponsoring
No,
around here.
they can't.
We don't do.
Or pick it up. Your hero seems like a big part of your political evolution.
Yes.
You went from a fan/acolyte to an opponent and then just pivoted against everything
Yeah.
that he believes.
Yeah, it was because it was this new dialectic that Trump forced.
Yeah.
Trump planted the seed.
And the seed was America first.
Yes.
So once you accept that, a lot of the way we're doing things becomes impossible to support or justify.
Right. The contradiction becomes apparent. It gets moved to the center, and it becomes unignorable if you're consistent.
So what kind of efforts did they make to make you go away?
So this is a couple of months down the line. You know, first they would try to dissuade me from asking questions because I was friends with a lot of the Daily Wire writers, not just Cassie Dillon, but many of them were Jewish. And I would ask them point blank. I would say, so why do we give Israel all this money? $3.8 billion per year? What is that for? And they would say, well, you know, there's a really good answer for that, but you're asking it in the wrong way. You're asking it in an anti-Semitic way. I'd say, I'm asking for the proof. You know, what's the argument there? And so first it was this sort of, hey man, could you kind of tone it down? Maybe just don't bring that up so much. But I was persistent because at this time I was genuinely inquisitive. I wanted to know, is there an actual reason? And I was actually expecting that there was a really good reason for all of it. And the more that I read, the more that I dug into the subject, the more I found out there's a lot of these neocon Jewish types behind the Iraq war. There's the foreign aid complex, which is really unique. There's AIPAC, which is this intense foreign lobby where it's bipartisan. It seems to be the only thing that the parties can agree on. And so it just made me burn more with curiosity. So I just kept asking them. And eventually they said, you know what? We're not going to talk to you anymore. And these are my friends. I met them, went to Christmas parties with them. And all of them one day said, you're done. We're blocking you. We're never going to speak to you again.